Bet you missed 1775, huh?
Not really. Picnicking with you is even better in the future. What is this called again?
Oh, that's spray cheese. It's inspired by cheese.
And your neighborhood is so lovely. There isn't even a children's graveyard.
Oh, yeah. One of the cool things about the future is that most kids live.
Oh, I love that.
Me too. Clink.
Clink. The only thing that would make this moment even more perfect is if you sang me one of your songs.
Okay. This one.
A flying crucifix! It's the end of days!
Babe, that's just a plane. That's an airplane.
Adam Pally, everybody.
Hello. This used to be a Tower Records.
It did. Had you ever come here when it was a Tower
Oh yeah,
Records?
all the time. Right over there is like the new release section where that group of people is, and the cash register was over there, and then there was a second floor.
Albums?
I do. You know, I miss the experience of going into a record store like in the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday with like nothing to do, and you're like a little high, and you spend about an hour just like perusing, and you spend $30 on like 2 good albums and 7 from the bin. Like I miss that experience. The same way I miss video stores that way.
Yeah, talking to the employees that work there and being like, what do you recommend? What is this you're playing right now?
Yeah, I mean all that. I think that there was a whole like social element to it that I do miss. But there is that online with like, you know, forums
and 4chan
and stuff like that. Yeah, you just you have to be a sociopath to do it.
So talk to me about making history. You are amazing in this show. Your cast is wonderful, and it's an incredibly funny show.
Oh, thank you so much. That is so nice to hear. It's so fun. It's a great fun thing to do. When you say tell me about it, do you want me to run through the plot with you, or do you want me to?
I mean, the beginning. Like, how did you get involved in the show?
How did I get involved with the show? Well, Lord and Miller, who created Last Man on Earth with Will Forte and are great directors, 21 Jump Street and the Lego Movie and all that stuff. They called me and said, "Do you want to come meet with us?" And I knew they were doing the young Han Solo movie, so I thought naturally they wanted to see me for young Han Solo.
Did you really think? Were you really thinking that?
100%. I emailed my agent and I was like, "See, I told you."
What did your agent say? He's like, temper your expectations.
He said, well, anything could happen, which I think is like he doesn't want to tell me they don't want to see you for that. So I go in and I'm like, okay, do I have...
Let me go back. I don't see why not. You'd be wonderful in the Star Wars.
Thank you. I mean, I can give you a list of why not, but thank you. So I walked in and I was like, I'm surprised I didn't have to sign any NDAs. They kind of just like let me in here. There was not even any Star Wars stuff.
Why am I on the Fox line?
Yeah, it was like wasn't even putting 2 together. And I told Phil and Chris, I'm like, okay, let's do it. I guess you just want to catch my vibe. You don't want me to read or anything. Just talk about it. And they go, oh no, that movie's called Young Han Solo. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. They started back out of the room and they're like, we do have this comedy that we're doing at Fox that Jared Hess is directing. And I was like, oh, I'll do that in a second. Jared Hess is one of my favorite filmmakers, so I would have worked with him on a Sprite commercial. I'd still work with him on a Sprite commercial. I really want to do a Sprite commercial. But yeah, so it was just kind of an easy, and the script was so good, written by Julius Goldy Sharpe. It was just, who was a longtime Family Guy writer and one of Seth MacFarlane's #1. So it was really kind of an easy thing to come together.
This show is populated by a lot of UCB guys, or at least a few it seems. Guys that I feel like I saw you working with a really long time ago before any of you really broke out.
Yeah, well, I do feel very lucky to have been coming up in New York at a time when the UCB was populated with mostly people that you see today on television. So I got to learn with them and become friends with them and perform with them for years and years. Me, Neil Casey, and John Gemberling, who play Sam Adams, and John Hancock, and Brett Gelman, who plays Paul Revere. We were on an improv team together called Death by Ruru for forever, before anybody even, before Brett was a little bit of luck.
When I moved to New York, that was kind of an infamous UCB. Death by Ruru was like very well known, and everyone talked about it.
Yeah, we were a little bit punk rock for that time period. It was started by Curtis Gwynn and John Gemberling. Curtis now writes on that big Netflix show that's really good about Escobar.
Narcos?
Narcos, yeah. And he writes on The Walking Dead and stuff. So he's gone on to become like a genius dramatic writer. And, John Gemberling plays Beavers on Broad City, is a breakout there. And now on our show. And Neil was the villain in Ghostbusters and was on a show that Paul Feig directed. So those guys were the people that, since 19 I performed with right down there. So
and I think that comes off a bit in the show. I mean, in the pilot, in your scene with Gemberling and Casey, it feels like these are three comedians who are having a really good time riffing. Even though it's probably mostly the script, it feels like you guys are having a great time together.
We were. I mean, there was some riffing going on, but it was very controlled. And we were having an amazing time together. It's so fun. It's such a privilege that so few actors get to have, but it's so fun to be spending a network's money with your best friends. It really is like the only way you want to do it.
Are you involved in the show just as an actor, or are you involved?
I'm an executive producer.
You're an executive producer,
yeah.
Right? Because when I was talking to you in the green room, the way that you talk about it is kind of like, we can do this and we can do that. It's much different than the way just an actor normally talks about the project.
Yeah, well, I think this is my third show, and I wanted to this time just have a little bit of equity in it, and I wanted to because it's difficult to launch a show. I mean, you're really asking the audience to trust you that it's quality because they're investing their time, and that time is hard earned. So it's really difficult to launch a show. So as an actor, you have to go out and do all this stuff too, and it really is hard when it's not genuine. And so I wanted to make sure that if I was going to do all this stuff,
and it hasn't been genuine before.
No, I mean I've never done it before. I've never really done it before. I've never been the lead of a major studio movie that was bad because I've never been the lead of a major studio movie, and I've never been the lead.
Oh, one day.
One day I hope to be the face of a horrible franchise, but I've never been the lead of a television show before. So most of the press that I did, I got to do with a bunch of people, and I just kind of had this feeling that if I was going to really do this, which is something I've always kind of wanted and dreamed of, that I wanted to make sure that at least I felt that it was what I wanted to say.
As executive producer, are you sort of working with the writers and developing stories as well?
No. I pitched to Goldy quite a bit. Me and Yasser and Leighton and John and Neil pitched to Yasser quite a bit. I pitched to Goldy quite a bit. But I've heard such horror stories about other actors in the past that are executive producers on shows, and they come down to the room, and they have never been in a writer's room before, and so they're just looking at the board, they don't know what it means, and they're like, how come he has more scenes than I do? And the writers freak out, or they come in with a random idea, you know what I was thinking? Wouldn't it be funny if I was in a wetsuit? Figure it out. And I don't want to be that, and all the writers they hired are so tremendous. I mean, Karen Kilgariff, I don't know if you listen to her podcast, she's a genius. And she's on the show, and Dominic Dierkes, and Sean Clements, and just amazing talent. So it's very hard to impose I didn't want to impose my will at all.
It's kind of sort of one of the greatest challenges that actors always face, not just in terms of going to the writer's room, but also being on set. How much do you apply your critique or your thoughts about what is going on, considering you, like everybody else, have one job there?
Yes, and I definitely in the past have had boundary issues on that level. Really? Yes, of course. I feel like any set I walk onto, in a lot of ways, it's step aside, the champ is here. So I have to curb that a lot of the times. And so it's a good lesson to...
Is that something, though? Outside of the joke of step aside, the champ is here, is that something that you did have to learn at one point?
Oh, yeah,
sort
for
of
sure.
Temper critiques or, not...
Not critiques, just, temper a certain nature that I have of, step up to the plate or get the fuck out of the way. 'Cause, like, I'm a train coming through. You know, I got places to be and fucking things to do. So yeah, I mean, like, and I got bits to play. Like, and you know, I got a vibe to create. And if you don't like it, then like you're gonna have to, because everybody loves me. And that was like kind of like, you know, thing I laid down, and I needed, and I think you have to learn how to kind of keep that vibe and that intention, if that's what works for you, which does for me, and at the same time make it open and feel like you're not just some kind of behemoth gorilla in the room that's like firing off one-liners.
Well, that must have been kind of hard, though, initially coming from improv comedy, where you're you're licensed to fire off one-liners.
It was.
Joke around and sort of do your own thing. As much as you're a part of a team, you're also trying to make, one show funny.
It was, yeah, and especially like you come from a world in improv comedy where you're performing every day and night with these 6 people who are of similar comedy mind, and they their likes and dislikes, and you know how far you can push it and not. And then you get thrown into a situation where you're an ensemble on a TV show, and you have to like readjust how you comedically communicate. And so
You also have to readjust to the machine itself, right?
Yeah,
because
sure.
you can't always be like, oh, that line's not the funniest thing. Let's try to do this, because
No.
we have to keep going. Guys.
yeah, and you also learn a language of television, like that I think a lot of actors I've noticed now that I'm kind of a little bit into it, and I've been able to kind of take a step back and see where I may have been wrong in the past. But a lot of actors I work with still do this, which is that they don't understand something in the script. And instead of saying, I don't understand, they go, I don't get this joke. And that is an offensive sentence to the writer. And so the writer instantly has friction with the actor, because they're like, this motherfucker doesn't get my joke. It's right on the fucking page. And then they have to go, well, how can I help you do that? And then the actor is putting up his walls or her walls, because they're like, this motherfucker don't understand why I don't understand this fucking joke.
This person thinks I'm being difficult
And now I'm going to be difficult. Well, and I'm on the fucking screen. They're not on the screen. I'm on the screen. I'm the one that's embarrassed if it doesn't work. So then they go, okay, well, here's the problem. And it would just be so much simpler if there was a code of conduct that was established because everyone's so vulnerable in this art form, where there was a way to communicate that without insulting, and sometimes there's not in the heat of the moment. And I certainly had to learn that, but I still see a ton of actors do it now.
Did you ever get into a fight?
I've never gotten into a fight. I mean, I'm sure that there are writers in Hollywood writers' rooms that would label me, life's too short or something like that. And I would say that, probably part of the reason that I haven't been cast in a major studio movie is because in my audition process, there's a lot of directors in Hollywood right now that are like, life's too short. So, and that's okay.
Based off of the audition?
Yeah, and that's okay. I had a director recently tell me in an audition, he said, look, I know you're funny, but I got to show this tape to 40 suits who are going to sign off on the fact that you can act. And a normal person would have been like, okay, let's do it again. But I was like, well, that's your fucking problem. I'm not the director. I'm a fucking actor. And I just nailed that audition. So like,
Champ coming through.
Let's book it or not. Feedback to my agent, what the fuck is wrong with Adam? And then I have to go, yeah, if that's how that movie, the truth is, if that's how that director wants it to be, he can't figure out how to sell me to 40 suits, and has to go, look, I know you're funny, but I don't know if you can act, then it's not a good job for me.
What do you want you to do? Cry a little bit? Do some
No,
sort of
I've done that.
dramatic moment?
I fucking roll tears all the time. Look at my indie work, baby. I'm practically Ethan Hawke. But
You can cry, bro.
I roll tears right now. No, I mean, I don't think it was that at all. I think it was just like people get. It's bad. It's like it's twofold. You want to be able to read the words and interpret them as an actor for the director, but at the same time, you only have one chance to make an impression, and so you have to be natural, and you have to do it, and you have to hope that they can understand that you can adjust. And sometimes there's such a threat from a director of an actor who is already, in their mind, like they've got this Sorkin one shot where they're gonna fucking swing a jib down from the lizard's mouth, and it's gonna fly back around and hit the back of your head by the time you're done with this speech. And you're like, yeah, that's not gonna happen because I got a killer line about the lizard's dick. And like, they're like, well, I'm not willing to sacrifice my shot. And I'm like, well, I'm not willing to sacrifice my joke. And so then it's like, well, then you can't work on my lizard movie.
I also imagine in the situation where someone has 40 suits that they have to convince something to, there's an element where they also, and not to be specific about whoever this director was, it doesn't matter, but they also don't know what they might be looking for at that point. And it's kind of like, just give me another thing, or let's do this, because I got to sell this to 40 people, so whatever's going to work is going to work for that.
Yeah, totally. But at the same time, as an actor, and this is from being on both sides of it, and when I see an actor do this, and when I've done it before, at the same time, I'm all up for doing multiple takes in the room and whatnot. But when you're asking an actor to sell something for you, then you've not done your job as the director by communicating what you want, and so I can't find it for you. Because
they might not know what they want, and there's an inherent pressure.
Well, if they don't know, then I can't be their fucking whipping boy to figure it out. Because that's how you get bad actor-director relationships, because the director then doesn't want to go, well, I don't know what I'm looking for, and you're not giving it to me. And the actor has to be like, well, look, I don't know. I don't know either. And acting is embarrassing inherently. It's like, in order to be an actor, you have to shelve all embarrassment. You have to say, I don't care what I look like whenever I look like.
No one ever talks about that. No one ever talks about that. Like, the hardest part about acting.
Poehler talks about it in her book, I think.
Oh. Amy Poehler's the only other one who talks about that.
I think that's where I got it.
But acting is humongously embarrassing, and it's one of those weird things that, like, it's the way that people treat actors or think about actors is pampered, and maybe the job is fairly easy, but it is an embarrassing act.
Oh, it is all those things. You are pampered, and it is easy, and the actual skill that goes into it is nebulous. It's undefinable. But the act of putting your name on an image forever is a risk that most people don't have to take. And so that, and I'm not talking about fame, I'm talking about the project, the art project, because whether or not 1 million people see Making History or 2 people see Making History, those 2 people now associate my name with my face with Making History. So if that's going to be the case as the actor, you want to make sure that the director knows exactly what they're going to do with you, because otherwise you're just like left out there kind of flailing in the wind, being like, I'm trying to do something. I don't know what I'm trying to do,
And Making History, change gears here. Making History, this is a segue. Making History has great directors.
You can just do a segue without going, changing gears. It's a segue.
I know. It feels corny to not say something about something so obvious.
I know, but you said it. It's like you did it twice.
You have wonderful directors on here, though. As you said, Jared Hess directed the pilot. You were talking about Peter Atencio in the Green Room, who directed a great
Maggie Carey, Payman Benz. Just an embarrassment of riches. Erica Pell. We really got lucky. Same way with the writers. It was just.
What I love about the show is that it is just a straight up comedy. It's not a romantic drama. It's not a romantic comedy. It's not trying to create anything other than 22 minutes of really solid laughs and funny people.
Yeah.
Was that something that you guys were sort of set on right away, that like, we're not going to do too much serialization here. It's kind of there, but we're going to really focus on just being as funny as we can?
Well, we knew we had a short order, so when you have a short order, you don't have the time to, you need to do a little bit of narratization to like keep the momentum. So we knew we had to do a little bit of that, but again, like our inspirations were History of the World Part 2 and Blazing Saddles, a lot of Mel Brooks stuff, where you're in a genre, but you're using it to the smartest of your ability, but in the most comedic sense. And so I think a lot of our performances, I used to tell Leighton that she reminds me of Meredith Kahn all the time in her kind of like wide-eyed, sweet strength. Is a very difficult skill to be, and she really nails it. And
she's great in it.
She's unbelievable. Such a talented actress. I think all of us were just trying to kind of be on that on that level of let's just have a good time and play it really honestly and fun, and then and show that we're having a good time, and then let the chips fall.
I love that you guys didn't define the time machine. There's no real explanation of it as far as I can tell.
Do you know how time travel works?
No, but it's literally just...
Neither do I. It's not a real thing.
It's just a gym bag that you get into and zip up.
Isn't that how it would... Well, who says it's not that? Could be.
Let's see if there's any questions from the audience. Does anyone have any questions?
Hey, Adam, thank you for being here. If time travel really did exist, what item would you choose to time travel in?
Oh, like where would I go? And I don't know, a DeLorean, like now that I've been in a bag, a DeLorean is pretty comfortable. So I would say probably like one of those Brookstone massage chairs. You know, like, yeah, something that could like work out my back, and then boom, I'm in 1970 Woodstock. Because I want to go after the festival.
You want to be part of the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Where would you go if you were to time travel?
I get asked this a lot, and
Yes, you
I'm a Jew, and Yasser is a black man, and Leighton is a woman. So I can speak for all of us and say, nowhere.
Next question.
Hey, Adam, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
You might have seen this question coming, but which one of your Happy Endings co-stars would you most like to guest on Making History, and what historical figure would they be?
Oh, what a great what an amazing question. All of them. Hopefully we'd run long enough for all of them. We as our production schedule was moving around at one point or another, we were trying to get every single one of them. We've talked a lot. We talked a lot about Damon Wayans as Ben Carson now. Damon Wayans Sr.
Does he have a Ben Carson? I would love to see Damon Wayans.
Damon Wayans Jr. has a pretty funny Ben Carson. So we were thinking about maybe finding the young Ben Carson, seeing him as a brain surgeon.
I was just watching In Living Color the other night.
Oh, it's the best.
I wish that those guys would get together and do something right now. All
It's
those
the
guys
greatest.
At this age, it's so
when
great.
Damon Wayans Sr., that was one of the best weeks of my life when he was on the show with us. And still, when I do get to hang out with Damon's dad, Damon Wayans Sr. a little bit through Fox, through like the
He's on
stuff.
Lethal Weapon, right?
Yeah, so like we had dinner in Toronto together, which was super weird. I don't know if you've ever had dinner with your best friend's dad alone.
That is so weird.
Not a ton to talk about. We managed.
Once you get past small talk, it's like, where do you go?
No, the bar bill was big.
I think we have time for one more question right here.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I feel like you have the right comedic timing and kind of personality for one of those like campy horror movies, and I say that like in the nicest way because I love those, like Army of Darkness or
Like
anything
a
like
Bruce
that.
Campbell thing.
Yeah. So if you could be in a movie like that, would you? And do you have a favorite?
Well, spoiler alert, I'm doing one right now in Brooklyn with the great Rachel Bloom from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. And it's called Most Likely to Murder. And it's written by two of her top writers on that show, and who also happen to be two of my best friends from college. And it's directed by her husband, Dan, and who is also my best friend from college. So it's a kind of a family affair. But it's I play this guy. I'll give you a little teaser about it since we're plugging. I play this guy who's kind of a washed-up Vegas promoter who comes back to his hometown to try to win back his high school sweetheart, played by Rachel, only to find that she's now dating the town freak, played by Vincent Karheiser from Mad Men. And one night, I think I see him commit a murder. And I have to prove to the entire town that he's a murderer, but no one believes me because they think I'm just trying to get my girlfriend back.
I thought you were going to say Vincent Gallo at first for some reason.
I wish.
Whenever
We
I hear
tried.
Vincent, I always...
We tried, but he said he would have to. He said I'd have to blow him on camera.
Adam, Making History is so wonderful. Sundays on Fox, right? Sorry.
It's the worst timed question.
I know.
Between your transitions and your timing, I don't know what is
Might be
worse.
my last one.
Or your
This is probably my
studio.
last
We're
one.
basically in a ground floor apartment. You couldn't get. No one was like, put on the second floor. It'll be less loud.
You got yeah.
I mean, the building has enough space for it to be on the second floor. There's enough space above us that someone was like, just put it on the bottom. You didn't even change. That's the Tower Records floor. You didn't even change the floor. That's the same linoleum from when this was Tower Records. That is where the control room is where. That's where the cash registers were. You basically just fit a studio into an old Tower Records.
Isn't that cool?
I guess it's green.
It's cool. It's cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Austin, like where we're doing a talk show in a laundromat or something, but like, I guess it's kind of cool. We're doing it in a...
Were you at South by recently? Did you have to do a bunch of those where it was like a makeshift talk show in like a laundromat or a hotel
No,
room?
I did South by once for a movie called Night Owls, and it was so weird because they like everything has the same importance level in South by, so they'll be like, okay, now come this way. This is the variety studio. Take a few pictures here, and then we'll walk down the street. You'll get in a basket, and we'll lower you down into a well so you can do a blog with a bridge troll. And then come up, and Jon Favreau from Swingers has prepared hors d'oeuvres. You're like,
How is Sundance different?
Well, Sundance is just more focused. It's the same kind of like random stuff, but it's really just like, you know, a giant convention for independent film. So it's basically like walking through an outdoor Javits Center for movies with titles that have been drawn by crayon.
You had 2 movies there this year, right?
I had 2 movies here this year, yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You gonna sip? Should you sip and then I'll do it, or do you want to?
I haven't, because I'm waiting for you to ask a fucking question.
Guys, Adam Pally, Making History Sundays on Fox. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for being here.